Okay, hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name's Monica and I'm very tired tonight. It's been a long day at work, it's been a long week, it's been a long year, and it's only February. I decided to do a reading vlog because I have a couple more lists that I'm trying to read from, and one of them is books that scare me. Now, I had a couple put on my February TBR. One is Credence, one was God of Malice. But there is this readathon that's going to be happening. I have decided to finally give in after years and years of people telling me you have to read ACOTAR. So the first book I'm going to be reading is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I don't think I need to read the back of this simply because I think everybody and their ancestral line has read this book and loves it, because I've had author friends, I've had booktuber friends, I've had friends who I work with, I had friends who I go to church with. I have had friends on every aspect of my life telling me I really, really need to read A Court of Thorns and Roses. There's been at least one or two people who've told me every year, have I read this yet? Why haven't I read this yet? Well, hold on, because I'm going to read this in this vlog and hopefully it won't. And hopefully I will enjoy it, because I'm scared of this book simply because it's so hyped and everybody loves it so much. I'm afraid of that I'm not. Other than ACOTAR, there's a couple more books I do really want to read in this vlog if I can get to it. The first one is one of the books that was recommended to me by one of my 12 friends. I was going to read more than one, but I decided just to put it down to one. Christi's pick, which is a Scarlet Scott book. But the other two that I really wanted to get to, because I'm sort of in the mood for them as it is, and they're very quick, easy reads. Well, one's quick and easy and definitely angsty, but the other one is just a lot of fun. So the first one for my rereads, to see if it holds up, is Dirty Letters by Vi Keelan and Penelope Ward. I will be reading with Nicki from Nicki in Bookland, Monster in His Eyes by J.M. Darhauer. Now, this was my OG Mafia romance, and I'm not sure if I would call it Mafia. Yeah, it's Mafia. He's a hitman. So this is the first book in the Monster in His Eyes trilogy. And the tagline is, Prince Charming might just be the villain in my fairy tale. And I loved this book so much, I devoured this trilogy. Here's the second book. It is Torture to Her Soul. It was originally supposed to be a duet. She wrote a third book. And this is the back. The back is like so cool. Anyway, and this is the back of Monster in His Eyes, which is like such a Phantom of the Opera type photograph. I love it. Anyway, I'm not going to read the whole trilogy again, but I am definitely going to read Monster in His Eyes again, see if it holds up. I have a feeling it will. Naz, or Ignazio Vitelli, is just like, he's a bad boy, and oh my gosh, love his character, and he has one of the most interesting backstories. I will update you as soon as I have something to update you with. Hey everybody. Okay, so it is nearly 6 a.m. and I am on my way to work. I'm just stopping to get myself some caffeine because I did not sleep the best last night because I had a dog who would not stop barking. Anyway, so ACOTAR. So I am at chapter 6, and I can never remember the first. It starts with an F. I'll have to look it up. This always happens. But Nesta and Elaine. I don't really like them. They're really kind of bratty and selfish. The dad is useless. Our main character, she's sort of a badass. I really like her. She basically forfeited her life to save her family's life. And then her dad's, here's the thing with this, is that they're in poverty. They used to be an aristocracy, and then they lost their fortune. And she, our main character, cannot remember her name for the life of me right this second. She's been taken off to Fairyland. I can't remember the name of the place. She's in the castle. She was taken by this beast type of a thing. I didn't realize this was a Beauty and the Beast retelling, because as soon as they got in, he turned into a man with golden hair, and he's one of the high fae of the realm. And yeah, she's interesting. I really like her. Him, I don't know yet. I don't know anything about him. We just met him. He just turned into this handsome prince fae guy. All right, so this is my update. I'm gonna go in, get myself some caffeine, and then I am going to go to work. It is a short day today for our students, and then we have PDP. So I probably will be able to get more reading done today than I normally would. All right, I'll check in when I got something going on. All right, bye. Feyre is still in Fairyland. She's found out that there's a blight on the land that could affect humans, and the Fae are wearing masks because I think it's because their magic is being drained, and she's still trying to find a way out. I feel like Feyre, she reads older. Like, she does not read 19 years old. So I'm sort of just like unsure at this point whether I like it or I don't like it. So I know this is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. Is it going to be true to the retelling, or is this going to be, or is she going to go different? I'm unsure what she's going to do. And I know Nesta, I think it's Nesta. Anyways, I know she's supposed to come in later because I hear a lot about her through chatter all the time. So I'm kind of curious about her character as well, what is going to take place with her character. Right now, I don't like her. I think she's a horrible person. The way she treats her sister, Feyre. So, and the dad is such a weak character. But it's not Lucian. His name starts with T. Cameron? I don't remember his name. He's the Beast, basically. I'm wondering what is up with that dude. Like, I guess there's a magical enchantment or something like that says that he could take her because she took a Fae life. And honestly, that makes no sense to me. She didn't actually make that magical bargain. Someone else did. So why is she being beholden to it? That literally makes zero sense to me. But we shall see. I'm going to continue on and let's see how it goes. All right. I will talk when I have something more to update. I will talk to you later. Bye. Hey guys, I'm just coming in for a quick update. So it's been a very long day. I went to see my son to make sure he was okay. He had to have his gallbladder removed last week, and right before his birthday. So it was quite a week and a half last week. Anyway, he's doing better. So we're all good right now. I didn't get as far as I wanted to. I am currently just finished chapter 31, and Feyre was forced to go back to the mortal world from Fae world because Tamlin is in love with her. They did their thing, and she realized that she's in love with him. Goes back when she realizes that he is actually in a lot of trouble. Anyway, and the name that she gave to the bad guy, when he tried to corner her like a few chapters ago, that family that of the name that she gave were killed, and the girl was taken by the Fae. So I'm actually very interested in seeing how this is going to play out. And there better not be a cliffhanger. I hate cliffhangers. I'm afraid of a cliffhanger. But I'm actually very much enjoying this right now at this point. Hey everybody, I'm just coming to check in. I finished ACOTAR last night and I don't know my star rating. I'm going to write a review for it today. I'm just sitting here thinking about it. So here's the thing with ACOTAR is I liked it, but I think it's another victim of the hype. I thought that when I originally started this, I thought she was going to be with Reese, and then she's with Tamlin, and I love Tamlin. Like, he protected her throughout the book, and ultimately Reese did too at the end, during the 3 trials that she had to do. She had to go through to save Tamlin and the court, and even herself. Although at the end she really didn't save herself. They saved, Reese really did save her, and same with Lucien and Tamlin. It was a very interesting concept and premise, and it was executed beautifully. Sarah J. Maas is a beautiful writer. She knows how to convey her thoughts without making it 1,000 words to convey her thoughts. It is a little chunky. It's a 16-hour audiobook. But it's also a fantasy, so I'm more forgiving for that. Feyre, as a character, she goes through something so horrible that it irrevocably changes her, but she also turns from human to Fae at the end because of her sacrifice. I really enjoyed the conflict in it. I really enjoyed the romance in it, but I'm not sure, and I know that Feyre does eventually end up with Reese, which I'm not really happy about. I like Tamlin. I really, really like Tamlin. Like, he was so good to her. Whereas Reese was a jerk to her when, well, I mean, he's Fae. Most Faes are, in fiction, are jerks. Again, I don't know my star rating, but I do know that I'm intrigued to move on. So I will be moving on in the series. Yeah, I said I only committed to the first book, but anyone who knows me knows I will always continue on unless something severely bad happens, like that takes me out of the story, or that is so offensive that I will stop. And that's only happened maybe like 1 or 2 times in any series that I've ever read, but it didn't happen in this one. And I enjoy the writing, I enjoy the characterization, the character growth and development. And actually, Feyre really, really grows as a character. Now, after I finished ACOTAR last night, I started reading Monster in His Eyes by J.M. Darhower. Again, this is a reread for me. And I know what's going to happen. But at the beginning, honestly, the prologue isn't completely necessary. This was copyrighted in 2014, and you can tell a little bit by the way it was written. Anyway, we start with Carissa and her roommate Melody, who's also her friend. They're both 19 and at NYU. They were in class. She went to go use her cell phone or check something on her cell phone, and the professor yelled at her to put her cell phone away. And as a teacher, I appreciate that because I hate cell phones in my classroom. But I digress. Anyway, Carissa accidentally drops her cell phone, so she goes back, and her professor's talking to this really, really attractive older man named Naz, or Ignazio Vitali. And she grabs her phone, doesn't think much of it, and then goes to this nightclub where they have this 80s themed party. And this all happens within the first chapter. This is the first chapter. And anyway, some guys started buying her friend drinks, and one of them happens to be roofied. And Carissa, not knowing it was roofied, drinks it, and she sees Ignazio again outside the club. He realizes that she is drunk, or actually drugged. He could tell that she was drugged, so he brought her back to his place, and she woke up and realized that she was drugged. And he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna take you home so you can get home safely." This is definitely an age gap. it's an 18-year age gap. He's 37, she's 19. And I do know the backstory. I do know why he is the way he is. And so rereading this when I know what's going to happen is very interesting, because now I'm picking up more on the nuances and the subtleties that are in J.M. Darhauer's writing, and I am very, very much enjoying this. The thing is, with a new read versus an old read, with a new read, I'm just soaking in all the information, and I'm like, okay, I can see where this is going, but I don't quite know where it's going, so I'm always surprised. However, with a new read, I know what's going to happen, so I can see what the foreshadowing, I can see where she's going to take this and how she's going to take it from the beginning to the end. Hey everybody, this is going to be an update, and Ralphie is on my bed with me. He decided to come up and snuggle. So we were just sitting here reading. I finished Monster in His Eyes, and it does leave on a somewhat cliffhanger-y type ending, but again, I've already read the books, and the books are already out and on KU, so go definitely check them out. Ignazio Vitali is very much an anti-hero. He has a really tragic backstory. I won't get into it because I don't want to spoil it, but at the heart of this love story is a revenge plot. However, he ends up falling in love with her. Carissa is very naive. She doesn't quite understand what people are capable of. She was very much sheltered by her mother. Her mother moved her around all the time. It was basically the first 18 years of life she was on the run, and then she got into NYU. Anyway, this book is very, very steamy. It has all the vibes, all the Mafia vibes you want. He's a hitman. He's likable at the beginning, even though he's very cryptic, and he's very dark. He's a very, very dark, again, he's an anti-hero. He does some really, really bad things. He's not in the Mafia. He's a hitman for hire, basically. And he's one of my favorite anti-heroes. Would I ever want to be around someone like that in real life? Oh, heck no. But is it very interesting to read about? Yes. I do recommend checking any trigger warnings for this. She is an incredibly good writer. She knows how to craft a well-rounded story. She can execute it well. And her characters none of them are flat. They all have, if you like Mafia and you haven't read J.M. Darhauer, I highly recommend you do. While I was listening to Monster in His Eyes, I was actually editing a little bit, and I was editing ACOTAR, and in it I said that didn't make sense to me why Tamlin would take her after she killed the wolf because of a treaty that she did not make. I didn't think that made sense. And after I finished reading the book, and I was thinking about it, even after I made my update this morning, I realized that I sort of saw the foreshadowing. I just didn't even think about it. And that's the difference between a first-time read and a reread. That was foreshadowing the curse that Tamlin and all of Feyworld, I call it Feyworld because I can never remember the name of it, so it's funny. Anyway, I'm still not convinced that Rhys is the better hero for Feyre, but then again, I really do like Naz and Carissa together. At first, both Feyre and Carissa in their own books were both very naive of the world that they were put into. So, and I find that very interesting. It's kind of similar in a way. It's 5:50 a.m. I'm on my way to work. I'm stopping to get some caffeine. So last time I updated you, I have finished Monster in His Eyes, and now I am 51 or 52% away through Nobody's Duke by Scarlett Scott. For the beginning of this video, I couldn't remember if it was some Nobody's Duke or something Duke. I knew it was a Duke book. Okay. So I thought he was going to be a rake. I thought he was going to be horrible to her. And he is a little bit, but somewhat justified, but somewhat not. Okay, so the story is that Mr. Ludlow, or Clayton, and the Duchess that he's sworn to protect after her husband was murdered. And there is some racial slurs against the Irish in this, so be very aware of that. But for the time period and what happened in the war for Irish independence, if you were English, especially an English aristocrat, then the language used was the language they would have used. So, while I don't like it, I understand why that particular word is in this book. That being said, this is a work of fiction, and she could have used a different word. But I'm not judging her choices on this particular word simply because, again, I understand exactly what she was trying to do with that. Anyway, so the Duchess, Ari, she has a little boy named Edward, and Clayton Ludlow is considered a bastard, and I still don't like that word either. But anyway, because words are important. Anyway, they had an affair almost 8 years ago, and they both were told two different things, and he was physically scarred after their affair was brought out, because they were going to run away and get married, because they both loved each other. He left for the continent thinking that she set him up, and he left, and she went on to marry a really, really good man who did not want to touch her, but knew she was pregnant with another man's child. She married him, he was a duke, and so this duke, his name Freddie, he was raising Edward, Clayton's son, as his own. Well, Clayton didn't even know he had a child. Anyway, he just recently found out that they had a baby, and they're both very angry. They both were told different things, and instead of questioning what was told to them, they're both assuming the worst of each other. The simplest thing for those two to do is to sit down and talk, but both are very angry and very hurt instead of talking it out. And honestly, if I was in that situation, I'd probably be angry at her and wouldn't want to talk either. So I can't really judge that, because when I get very angry, I tend to shut down and not want to talk to anybody. So I get what the author's trying to do here. So I'm really, really enjoying it. Anyway, but I think one of the funniest things about this is, and I'll talk about this in my wrap up if I remember to, so I might just say it here. I read a fantasy, I read a Mafia, and now I'm reading a historical, and they're all very similar in their plot devices, in their structure, and the way they're telling a story. It's not like a contemporary romance. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I was filming a video yesterday, and I was talking about Cora Riley, and if you think about it, a Mafia is very structured and very, very, very close. It's like a first cousin of a historical romance, and honestly, a fantasy is very much the same way. Whereas the outlier could be the contemporary. I might just read Dirty Letters just to see. Anyway, so I know I'm waxing a little philosophical about romance novels right now, probably because now it's like 6 a.m. because I've been sitting here for the past 10 minutes talking to you. But I think what I'm going to do is definitely read the contemporary romance next, Dirty Letters by Keelan Penelope Ward, because those three genres or subgenres of romance are so similar that I'm not surprised that those who really love fantasy really love historical. Anyway, I am going to go in, get myself some caffeine. I thought he was going to be a rake. Christy, I thought he was going to be a rake because, I mean, I figured he was going to be a duke who's a rake, but he wasn't. He was such a good guy. I mean, he was hurt. What her father did to him was so horrific. I was like, oh man, I would have gone back and done something nasty to him. But I digress. Anyway, so Nobody's Rake is a second chance romance, historical, and I think Scarlett Scott is an indie published historical romance author. This one I actually thought would have higher ratings than it did. So I feel like with this one, I really loved the dynamic between the hero and the heroine. He was a bastard son of a duke. He fell in love with the youngest daughter of, I think her dad was an earl or something. And he was such a good character. He was interesting because he was so hurt, but yet he survived, he thrived. I liked how this was actually Secret Baby. I didn't realize this was going to be Secret Baby. And because it didn't even say anything about Secret Baby. But it was. And I honestly, normally that type of thing would bother me, the way she went about it. But I actually understood it because she was an unmarried woman who she thought, again, spoiler, who she thought Clay was going to, again, spoiler, I thought that, okay, so this is Secret Baby, and it's actually done in such a way that I'm okay with it because, and this is a spoiler, she thought that he had left her after they made love for the first time and he got her pregnant. She didn't know she was pregnant at the time. She thought he had left her, never showed up to their meeting place so they could run off and get married. And so she assumed that he didn't want her or the baby. And in this time period, women did not have rights. They were property. And so her dad gave her an ultimatum: find someone to marry or to go to the continent, have the baby, and give it up. She met this duke who was gay and was in love with another man, but at that time he could have been killed for it. So she married him knowing that they would never have a intimate relationship because she was pregnant. Freddie happily cared for her son and Clay's son as his own. So this little boy who would have been considered a bastard because he was born out of wedlock or on the wrong side of the blanket, as they said, he was able to become a duke, which is kind of funny because the guy who's a son of a duke would never be accepted in society because he was considered illegitimate. I enjoyed the dynamic between both characters. I enjoyed the character growth. Normally, them not communicating would just irritate the crap out of me. However, in this book, it actually didn't because they both were hurt and angry because what her father did. They both thought very different things about what happened that night. She thought she was left behind and used. He thought that he was left behind and betrayed and therefore physically scarred because her father, and this is a spoiler, had some bad guys, some villains, cut his face because he found out that Clay and his daughter were having an affair, and they were about to run off to get married because they were in love with each other. This book is not just a second chance, it's also a soulmate. So honestly, I read 2 books that had soulmates, and one was a contemporary and one was a historical. So then I read, for another reread, was Dirty Letters by Vi Keelan and Penelope Ward. The story is unique. Luca and Griffin do exchange letters throughout points in the book. However, this is a soulmate book. And it's about healing from trauma, because she had a lot of trauma, and he had some trauma in the past too. And Vi Keelan and Penelope Ward do write some really great pining heroes. I mean, I read The Game last month, and he was a pining hero. I think most of them are pining. I've read quite a few of them, and I really do enjoy their heroes for the most part. I mean, there's been a few misses. I think with every author, you're going to get a hit or miss because reading is so subjective. However, my thing with this book is now that I'm reading it again, and if you're going to read Dirty Letters, it's on KU Read and Listen, and Jacob Morgan narrates Griffin, and Andy Arndt narrates Luca, and they both do a very fantastic job. Jacob Morgan does a really good British accent, I'm not gonna lie, because Griffin is a British rock star. And they meet through a pen pal project that their elementary school classes have done, and they keep up even past the assignment of writing to someone different. They keep up this friendship, and it turns into more. And then she has this thing, and I will put a spoiler up. She survives a very devastating fire that kills her best friend when she was 17 years old, and it caused her to mentally spiral until she has so much anxiety, and she's agoraphobic. She has a hard time with life. She stopped writing to Luca, and Luca at this time was going through some pretty bad things. His mom was dying of cancer when she stopped writing to him, but she didn't realize it. And the book opens up when she finds this letter that he wrote to her saying that you suck because she stopped writing to him, but she never told him why. Because she was so devastated that she survived this horrible fire. And if you remember, you probably wouldn't remember this, but I remember this because I was living near Rhode Island at the time, where there's this huge nightclub fire where a lot of people were killed, including one of the musicians that were playing. And I think that's where they got this idea for this nightclub fire. You can gloss over certain things, and I'm okay with it. And I was okay with this because this book wasn't about what happened to her. This book is not about the fire. This book is about Luca healing enough to be with Griffin, because Griffin is a rock star. He has to hire security because he gets stalkers, and there's the paparazzi and stuff, and she cannot even go out to the grocery store except for at 2 a.m. because of she can't be in a crowd. It is really kind of a deeper book for Vi Keelan and Penelope Ward. And the thing is that their books look like they're going to be a fun, smutty, good time, but a lot of them actually have some heart to it. Okay, so I feel like this book has been good because I read ACOTAR for the first time, and it's a 4.5. I was bored, and I feel like a little of the enjoyment was lacking, pretty much because I was expecting more, so it was a case of overhype a little bit. If I probably have read it when it first came out, it probably would have been a 5-star read. For Nobody's Duke, loved it, 5 stars. Thank you, Christi, for that recommendation. Monster in His Eyes, held up, 5 stars. Even though it's showing its age a little bit, I still had a good time. It gave me exactly what it promised, and I love an anti-hero. He's fantastic. And lastly, Dirty Letters. It did not completely hold up to my 5 stars. It's more like 4.5. So I think the reason why Dirty Letters did not hold up in this particular vlog as I thought it would is because ACOTAR, Monster in His Eyes, and Nobody's Duke were very loud, very angsty, very in-your-face action, where all 3 of them had, the writing was fantastic, the character growth was there, the plotting was there, the journey from the beginning to the end was there. Everything was good in all 3 of those. With Dirty Letters, the characterization was there, the plotting was there, the romance was there, the angst was there, the character growth was there. It was just as good as the others. The difference is that that one's a quiet book, whereas the other ones are very, very loud. If that makes any sense to you, it makes perfect sense to me. Now, I did mention in my last very long diatribe, or as it could be known as my last update, the way fantasy and historical and even Mafia are written are so similar. I'm just like, I never really thought about it until I read literally a fantasy and then a Mafia and then a historical romance, and it was just like boom, 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 and I was like, oh, because they have very similar rules on the way things are done, and so in their societies, and honestly, that was very interesting to me. Now, does it bleed over to a contemporary? Because I actually thought about that, and I was not really, not in this particular contemporary. Maybe if you're talking about a marriage of convenience, like I cannot think of a marriage of convenience book that's not historical off the top of my head. I know I read a couple. Well, anyway, I am closing this vlog out here, and if you have any recommendations that are not historical, marriage of convenience, please leave them down below, because other than Marriage for One, I cannot think of any right this second. I'm pretty positive that I've read them. That's also not Mafia, because I read a lot of Mafia, Marriage of Convenience. If you have read any of these books, let me know down below. Although I feel like I'm one of the last people to read ACOTAR. But if you've read Nobody's Duke or Monster's Eyes or Dirty Letters, please let me know down below. Anyway, I'll talk to you in my next video, and until then, bye.